Welcome to this evening's City Council meeting. Glad to have you here. Please join us for the invocation by Councilor Marlon Coleman, and then for the flag salute to follow.
Practice make perfect. Lord, in Jesus' name, we thank you for this night. We pray your blessing upon us as counselors, God, as we represent this city. Lord, that our steps may be guided by the power of your Holy Spirit, Father, for the betterment of our community, that we strive to make Muskogee a better place. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Please join us for the flag salute. Attention, salute, pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
One point of personal business before we get started. Happy birthday, Derek Reed, 44 years today.
Oh,
The cake was very good. Congratulations.
Here's some cake.
Roll call.
Mayor Bob Coburn.
Here.
Deputy Mayor James Scully.
Here.
Dan Hall.
Present.
Marlon Coleman.
Here.
Janie Boydston.
Here.
Wayne Johnson.
Here.
Patrick Kale. Ivory Van.
Here.
Derek Reed.
Here.
Move that we excuse Councilman Kale.
Second.
Motion and a second to excuse Councilman Kale. Comment or discussion? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor James Scully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes,
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
there
Wayne-
he comes.
We just unexcused him.
You could have left. We were excusing you back there.
In that case, Matt, do we need to continue to roll call or?
Just continue the roll call, including the.
Okay.
Patrick Kale.
Here.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Definitely.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes. You're officially excused.
You can go home now.
Now do we need to put him back in?
No, I apologize. I thought you meant the roll call of who was here.
No, we got everybody here
Well, I
now.
guess you're excused. You can leave. So.
We don't need a motion now to excuse Dan Hollis here.
We kind of politely kicked
All
you
right.
out.
Consent agenda, whoops, before we do the consent agenda, we have regular minutes from a regular session August the 8th and then special call on August the 16th for those minutes, and we'll approve those both together if possible. Are there additions or corrections?
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor James Scully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes, motion carries. Consent agenda, items 1 through 13. Is there anything that anyone would like to move to regular agenda? Entertain a motion for the consent agenda.
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor James Scully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes, motion carries. Item number 14 on the regular agenda.
Consider approval of a City Council resolution of the City of Muskogee establishing and adopting a downtown sidewalk repair program to address safety issues on sidewalks within downtown Muskogee or take any necessary action.
Mr. Garvin.
Mayor, members of the council, we are requesting approval of a resolution establishing and adopting the downtown sidewalk repair program. If you'll remember correctly at the last meeting or at the Public Works meeting, I gave you some background on how we got to this point. I'm going to skip that background tonight and just go straight to the program itself. The purpose of the program is to address safety issues with existing public sidewalks within downtown Muskogee. The scope of work will include repairing existing sidewalks, if they're located within the right-of-way, to a reasonably safe condition, and that will be subject to city resources being manpower and funding. This will not include the replacement of new sidewalks or replacement of existing sidewalks or installing new sidewalks. It is only for repair. We did set up some guidelines to determine whether a sidewalk needs to be repaired or not, so we could be consistent throughout the downtown area. The first criteria says a sidewalk having a crack or joint with a deviation or difference in elevation 3/4 inch or more. And here's some examples of what we're talking about. Next is sidewalks having a crack or joint with an opening width of 3/4 inch or more. Sidewalks that are tilted or settled more than 3 inches, measured 4 feet out from the lowest or highest point. You can see the highest point about where the employee has his hand on the level, and 4 feet out, it's definitely going to be higher than 3 inches. A few other examples. Sidewalks that have pitting or scaling over 50% of the surface. Sidewalk that traps water or does not provide adequate surface drainage. You can see in this picture where the sidewalk's low in several places and where the dirt is settled, so water has been standing. Here's another example, and it's kind of hard to tell in the picture, but the sidewalk kind of bows in the middle, tilts down. It's actually, yes, they're against the building, so water would stand. Tree wells that no longer contain a tree. Example of one with a dead tree root in it, stump, and one with a grate that also has a dead tree stump. Drains that are broken or missing. Here's an example of a drain that's actually between the sidewalk and one of the planters, and you can see it's tilted up and deteriorated and several issues with it. And here's another example of some of the drain. We also stated that any deficiency that the Public Works Director or his designee has determined to be hazardous. Now, as far as the sidewalk repair, the repair will consist of concrete or an epoxy-based patching material. That may include coloring in the concrete, stamping, or texturing. We will not be using decorative bricks or tiles, because what we're trying to do is make the repairs for safety issues, just addressing those. So it may not look the best, but we're trying to, again, take care of the safety problems. As far as the repair schedule, the Public Works Department will put together a schedule, and they will prioritize the work. They will submit that to the sidewalk committee, who will have to approve it before the work begins. And that basically will be based upon the severity of the safety hazards, volume of pedestrian traffic, visibility of condition, length of time the condition has existed, and again, it's the availability of city resources, funding, and manpower. Now, depending on the resources, it may take some time to make a lot of the repairs, because it'll all depend on the funding and manpower. So this program will not alleviate the property owner's responsibility for the sidewalks. So if it's going to be a lengthy time, they may have to go ahead and address some of the safety issues. The effective date of this will be today. The resolution goes into effect immediately upon City Council approval. As far as budget-wise, in this year's budget, there was $45,000 budgeted. However, it was not only for sidewalks, it also included downtown lighting. And we think probably $10,000 to $15,000 of that will be used for downtown lighting, and the remaining $30,000 will go towards the sidewalk repairs. Be glad to answer any questions.
Questions or comments for Mr. Garvin?
I've got a question. Have you been down there to take a look at this personally?
Yes.
Just from the pictures, and I may not have caught it, and no use hashing old things, but it appears to me that there wasn't adequate expansion joint between the pavers and the curb, and even, let's say, every 40 feet or so, some of those pictures, I didn't see adequate expansion joint. Could that be a lesson for the future, or, I mean, is that the cause of this problem? Because it looks pretty severe.
No, you're absolutely correct. The downtown streetscape was put in back in the 80s, mid-80s, and there are definitely a lot of things that can be improved upon, and that is one. The expansion joints, ceiling process. There's a lot of things that we can do better, and we've discussed that. We walked through it as a committee, and we identified a huge portion of the problems. You're right.
So if the contractor or whoever oversaw the project back in the early 80s had just done some small things and paid attention to some small things, we may not be where we are today.
That's a fair assessment.
Okay. Thank you.
Other comments or questions?
Yes, Mayor, may I be recognized?
Yes, sir.
I know you're probably wondering what this is right here. This is the king of hearts. You know, when I come up here tonight on this issue here, I already know the deck's already stacked against me. But I just want to just use this as an example. This right here is a joker out of this same deck. I feel our citizens are the jokers. And the reason I say that is, we're going to start back a little ways. I remember August 23, 2015, when we started this sidewalk stuff downtown, is because weeds and stuff was going up through the sidewalks. We weren't worried about that then. So the code enforcement were downtown, and they looked at stuff, and they were going to find these people $249 a day. I got the paperwork right here. Next item was, it went on about the sidewalks. They formed a committee. This happened 11/30 of 15. They talked the same thing about, you know, where y'all went to OML, and there's 126 other towns and cities surveyed, you know, back in August. The last one of 2015, it was 12/12/15. There was also another article in the paper. This time I commented on it, and I said that I thought I was totally against this. So those items there started that downtown. We wasn't interested in downtown until the merchants got this high bill that they were going to for the grass and the weeds. So today, I had a commissioners meeting. After that commissioners meeting, I took a walk downtown myself. I scoped it pretty well, and I talked to people. I remember when Mrs. Langston came up here for Public Works. She said that a lot of business, like we have a lot of people downtown that don't own the business. So I wanted to find out personally myself. So I went to a lot of those businesses downtown. Those people own these businesses. This sidewalk should be their responsibility, not ours. Another thing is, on the sidewalks, Mr. Carroll was right just a while ago. What caused the problem on these sidewalks were you put trees. The trees expanded the sidewalks, buckled them up, and that's why we're in the shape they're in right now. Plus the bricks, that ever who designed that, they were a poor designer. And so, like I said, I went downtown and looked at all the stuff, all the cracks and this and that. And really, I looked at one thing that really got me. People talk about how they want downtown to look and want it to be beautiful. But you would think, I know at Robertson Park, I say that, I'm on it, and I try to do my best to keep it looking good out there. You would think, right there on 3rd and Broadway, where people got to sit, here's the chamber right here. Down the street from the chamber, you have the bench where an older gentleman used to sit down and read his paper. But right now, you can't sit down and read his paper because you got bird boo-boo there. You can't sit down there. So I would recommend the people that is really high up and want downtown, which I am too, I want downtown to look good because that represents us, our city. But, you know, the ones that really, you know, in these committees that form and the people that runs downtown, DMI downtown, they need to go downtown and get a rag and wipe the bench off at least. Take some water, scrub the sidewalk, make it look good, because if I got a person coming out to tourism and coming down to Broadway, going back east, and see that bench, I'm ashamed of it myself. And another thing is, you know, on these sidewalks, they're all buckled up, all down through town. If somebody falls, I may be wrong, I'd like to know this answer, which I already think I do. If somebody falls downtown, who's responsible for that, Mr. Beast?
Property owner.
Property owner. Just like the property owner is responsible for this, if somebody falls, they ought to be responsible for fixing up their sidewalks. Those property owners downtown, and I mean I walked. It's good from my heart. I walked today and asked questions. And they told me, you know, they really want to see their, you know, downtown look good. And those people, banks, Best Center, I seen the deal at the Best Center. It's a tripping hazard. I especially went by there. I seen the tripping hazard y'all were talking about at Public Works. And like I said, if we're so interested in the gung-ho, we'll even get a volunteer crew. Maybe we could, fix some of these repairs. We got skilled people that probably volunteer their services. But to me, to put our $45,000 into this project, now I'll go for the curves also. That was another thing I looked at when I was downtown. The curves, they were all busted and broke up. You would think, if you see brick laying on the in sidewalks in the way, somebody somehow ought to go by and pick them up. Slabs of concrete like that, just laying down on the sidewalks. Nobody interested, just walking right by it. You would think somebody would have the gumption to pick that stuff up. I would if it was Robertson Park. And that's my points up here. We spend this $45,000, which is, by the way, and I'll say it again, that's taxpayers' money. That's not DMI's money that they got all this money by themselves. It took every citizen here in Muskogee to get that money. The lights, I go for. I think the lights should be put in downtown Muskogee. The curbs should be put in downtown Muskogee. But when it comes to the property owners that I know can pay for these sidewalks downtown without having to use this money that we're getting ready to give them, that comes from hard-working Muskogeans, I have a problem with that. And I'll say that in my other presentation I got to make here in a minute. But like I say, I just have a problem with that, and I don't think it's fair to our citizens that we put our money right there in downtown, all of it. And that's all. That should wrap it up, Mayor. I just want to give you a little history of what, because like I say, Ms. Carroll, you dead on the money. Them trees did cause the problem. They definitely did. And I think they done that on the most beautiful Muskogee. They messed us up. And one more point. Also, I talked to some people there. I'm not going to call their names. They own quite a bit of property downtown. But on the sidewalk issue, they had to go in there and fix it themselves. And I'm pretty sure if they had to go in there and fix it themselves, y'all owe them some money. Because they definitely fixed it themselves. And they own quite a bit of property down through there. And like I say, I just had to go downtown today just to see. And one more thing, and this is it. What really got me was I seen these pretty flowers in front of the chamber. Now, at my home, in my right-of-way, if I put some flowers, the city ain't no way they're going to come out and water my flowers and take care of them. But the Parks Department takes care of the chamber's flowers. They water them. It's right in their right-of-way. They take care of them, plant them, water them every day. Boy, I wish I could get them to do that in front of my house. That's wrong. They ain't going to do it in front of a resident's house. So I learned a few things today in Muskogee. Walking around Muskogee, you learn a lot. So I'll turn the floor back over to you, Mr. Mayor, and that's just my thoughts.
Thank you, sir. Other comments or questions?
Mr. Garvin, when we talk about the $45,000 annually for this program, do we have any idea of how long it will last? So are we talking 2 years, 5 years, 6 years? Do we have any estimates at this time?
45, again, with the lighting, you're probably going to end up with about 30,000, and it won't make a lot of repairs.
But for how many years?
Yeah, it's a 1 year budget.
It's a 1 year budget. Because
Yeah,
what
yes,
I'm
sorry.
thinking is if that's not enough, I want to be certain what we're adopting tonight. Will you have to come back again next year to ask for it again in 12 months?
Yes, it'll be asked for at the budget process.
Okay, because I think it's a good start if we've got 45,000. Because I'd be looking forward to keeping that kind of line item budget when you're done with the downtown project. Moving that into the recommendation that I made on last week, which was to be certain that we come up with a plan in 90 days to look at residential. It may not go far in the residential, but at least it'll give us some kind of start in terms of where we need to go.
This project actually started quite some time ago. Since I've been on the council, we've been talking about sidewalks in the downtown area. From that point on, we've been talking for a long time because we would like to, see an entire program. But really, the best thing we got going for us right now is with OU doing a study, long-term study for our downtown area. And so we don't want to do anything in our downtown area until they complete the study. And so that's what really brought us to this point of now we got OU doing the Institute of Quality Communities doing a study of our parking in the downtown area, of our streets in the downtown area, of our lights in the downtown area, and our sidewalks in the downtown area. So we're doing a complete review of our downtown. During this study, what we need to do is make sure our walks are safe for our pedestrians that are shopping in our downtown area. So this is a great step in the right direction for our downtown sidewalks. Now, when the sidewalks was redone and the trees were planted and the bricks were done, that was popular in that time frame. A lot of communities done it, and a lot of communities are experiencing the same problems that we are. But this is a good repair, temporary repair. When we put this program together, we also had another component, and that other component was a sidewalk repair component for neighborhoods. And what it was, there was already a component that I didn't even know was out there. One, if a person wants to replace their sidewalk, the city will demo it at no cost to them. And I did not know that already existed. So what we've done is in the original proposal, we actually put together a component for neighborhood sidewalks. But then as it went along, we really felt like if you mix the two together, we felt like it brought a lot of concerns. So then we wanted to split it apart, and we said, okay, this is only the downtown portion, and then we can bring the other one as far as residential as another component. So it's to come later on. But we fully understand that, sidewalks related to schools, a walkable community, because really in a community, you want a walkable community. It wants to start with the downtown as far as a walkable community, because that's where a lot of your businesses are at. But when you look at around a school, around a neighborhood, you want your total community to be a walkable community. But unfortunately, most of our community, when the neighborhoods were not built with sidewalks. And if they were built with all different standards or no standards at all. So we have fragmentation all over our community. But it's nice that we're seeing some standards put in and at least starting a process. And I think this is a good step in the right direction. And our next phase would be walking in with the residential program.
I've got another question. Do we have, let's say I had a 50-foot of storefront on Broadway or what have you, and said, I want to do it all myself. Can I pour concrete or stamp concrete or put in pavers? Are we working on if we're going to someday down the future redo it or if people want to do it?
What Wayne was referring to as far as the University of Oklahoma doing a downtown master plan.
That's going to be a part of that?
What the sidewalks should be, how wide they should be, and all the pedestrian traffic, how it should go. And that's what we're waiting on. That's why we haven't addressed anything as far as new.
So you just want to fix dangerous situations.
That's why I tried to stress, safety issues. We just want to get those resolved. That's the only thing we're after right now.
Very good.
Because right now, if we wanted to repair out in front of the Best Center, how do we do it? Can we do it with concrete? How do we do it? We can't match the brick that's there. What process do you use? At least this repair gives us a process of how to repair it right now, because we want a long-term program of how to do it and a long-term plan. So this is a great step in the right direction, but OU, the Institute of Quality Communities, will come out of that with a long-term plan in a number of different areas for our downtown.
See, and that was kind of my question where Kel was going, but I wanted to take it a little step farther. When I close my eyes, I get an ugly picture of what our sidewalks are getting ready to look like. I really do. Because we're going to break up where the brick and stuff is, and then we're going to go in, and I just see people bringing concrete in and pouring it into a hole and leveling it out, and it'd be all squiggly. Are we going to square it up and make it look presentable, or are we just going to go in and fill it up like it's a pothole on a street?
We are going to take the most care and pains with the aesthetics that we can. That's why you'll go back and look, Gary put in there to actually put dye in it, do some things so that it will try to blend in. So the intent's not to go down there and just make it ugly and throw concrete in a hole. It's to try and address it as aesthetically as we can, but still yet give us a policy and a means to do it by.
Okay. And then I know we're doing it to make the sidewalk safer and stuff. It's just kind of, I wish we had a plan a little bit sooner, because we're throwing $45,000, a Band-Aid on something, which is we got to do it to make it safe. But I hate throwing $45,000 at something that we're going to turn around and possibly tear up and put more concrete back in there. That's why, and I understand this study and everything's supposed to do that. $45 is a lot of money to me. Maybe not most of y'all guys up here, but it is to me, and I just can't see I want to make sure we're being frugal with our money and not just putting a Band-Aid on something knowing that we're going to come back and tear it out and redo it. I'd like to see a plan a lot faster than or is that part of the OU study too? Are we going to wait or just start fixing things?
The study is going to provide a direction where we can go and a master plan, but then we're going to have to figure out how to fund that master plan. So it could be 5, 10 years down the road, or 15 before we can ever do a long-term replacement for anything in the downtown area, or maybe even 20 years. So, it'll give you a vision of what needs to happen in the downtown, but it don't give you a funding mechanism.
Well, the funding mechanism is the people that own the property will need to come in and do that to their sidewalks.
No, because it's got to address the utilities, the streets, and everything else.
You just said that we will tear out the concrete for them, then we can address the utilities for them, but the sidewalk needs to come from the property owner. If they're going to put whatever product we're going to put back in that hole, they need to pay for it, because that's still private property. Last time I checked, we can't fix private property for individuals.
Mr. Johnson?
Comments or questions?
My question is my understanding is in 1985, the city passed a CIP, and the city installed these sidewalks. And since 1985, it's been the Public Works' responsibility to repair these. So something tells me we never transferred those sidewalks back to those property owners. And I don't know if we need to take a look and see.
We can't, then there's no records that we could find.
But there was a $2 million CIP that the taxpayers approved to do this streetscape that we did. For $2 million, I think it was?
It was in that neighborhood, yes.
So the taxpayers paid for these sidewalks, and now, we still need to maintain them somehow or another, but, we say it's the property owner's piece.
So we do own them.
Councilman Gully is correct.
We
We
passed
have
an ordinance.
maintained them since '85.
We
The part
passed an
that was put in
ordinance.
by Streetscape.
Giving them the
Back to them?
responsibility.
Okay.
So we did?
We passed an ordinance.
When was that?
I don't have it with me.
And I'm in favor of a balanced approach,
93 code,
whatever
I
that
think.
approach is down there. But during Christmas time and the season and the beautiful streetscape and everything, I'm not against the little city participation to support the beauty down there, and of course it ties into so many other things with what we're trying to do downtown and the revitalization and development and what have you. So there might be able to be a balancing deal when we come to redoing the project as a whole. Do you have any idea on a linear foot, what are those sidewalks? 5 feet, 10 feet, 12 feet?
Yeah, it depends on the location, but some of them are wider than that.
15.
And I think, I may be wrong, but I think Prague has been looking at some contractors to get some estimates for square footage
I mean,
for replacing the sidewalk.
yeah.
Is it, okay.
I mean, if you just use $5 a square foot and you go back 10 feet, that's $50 a linear foot. And while it might be fair to require residential sidewalk repair of a 4-foot or 5-foot wide sidewalk, to demand that somebody replace a 10 or 12 or 20-foot wide sidewalk is a whole nother demand, in my opinion.
Especially when it's got the utilities under it that are our responsibility.
Yeah, I think there needs a balanced approach to look at that, and the burden might lean more towards the city than the owners in this particular situation. It's a little different.
See, I think if it's their property, they should have to pay for at least the concrete or the product that goes in the hole. We can fix the water or whatever we need to do, or the sewer lines, are fixing it where all they got at their pad, but I think that at the end of the day, they need to put the product in the hole to make the sidewalk. I think that would be feasible because we're taking care of our utilities and everything, easement and everything. They can take care of their part of their property. When I fixed the stuff on my property, I don't call the city and ask them for it.
No, but there's a difference between a 4-foot wide sidewalk and a 20-foot wide sidewalk. That's like a driveway.
Well, the last time I had a water leak at my other house and the water department came out and fixed my water leak and they left it, I said, hey, what about the sidewalk? They said, that's your responsibility. Guess who spent the money out of their pocket to fix the sidewalk? So I wanted it the way it was. That was mine. The city didn't take care of mine. I'm not willing to change it now.
Council,
500 Sherwood Lane.
Councilman Hall,
Yes.
on that part there, I disagree with you. I just came from a house before I came to this meeting.
You can't disagree, Ivory, because if you do it downtown, you got to do it at a resident.
No, I'm not, hear me
You
out.
can't have it two different ways, son. I'm sorry.
Hear me out. You wasn't listening to what I'm saying. You said about the water, like if you got a leak on the other side of the on the other side of the sidewalk, then they have to bust your sidewalk out. What I'm saying is the city will go back and put that sidewalk back if you got a water leak. Seriously, I just came from a residence on 1300 Boston. Go by and look at it. And the city, it had a leak right there on their meter, and well, not on the meter, but on the other side of the meter, the city side of the meter. And they had to, matter of fact, they had to dig up a tree. And you talking about a nice looking job? The city done a nice looking job in putting it back. That's all I'm saying. The city will go back if it's.
Well,
I'm serious. Go by there.
they didn't do my house, I promise you.
Okay. See, that's we as a councilman up here, we learn a lot about things. That's why we
Yes.
have to get out and look and see. When I'm not disagreeing with you, I'm just trying to tell you that what I just experienced just before I came to this meeting. And the lady there at that house, she gave me a piece of advice too. And I said she was a business owner. She said that she would like to see it split up both ways. You know, give some to the residents and also give some to the downtown. But I'll say time and time again, the residents the people downtown that own these buildings, they have the funds to do it. They have the money. You can't tell me they don't.
Make a motion for approval of item number 14.
A
Second.
motion and a second. Any other comments or discussion?
Yes, Mr. Johnson. Mr. Mayor, may I be recognized? When I'm talking, you seem like you like to just cut me off. I mean, to me, that's pretty rude, but that's okay. This will be the last night you cut me off. Go ahead, sir. I'll turn the floor back over to you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Mayor,
Motion and a
sorry, go ahead.
second. Yes, sir.
I was going to say that we want to also remind the voters along the lines of the residential plan that may come as a separate component that staff has already taken as direction to try to have something ready for us in 90 days to look at residential programs.
We addressed that last.
Yes, sir.
Meeting before last, right. Okay. All right, roll call.
Deputy Mayor James Scully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
No.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
No.
Mayor Copeland.
Yes. Motion carries. Motion carries. Item number 15.
Receive report from Councilor Van regarding residential sidewalks and take any necessary action.
Councilor Ivory Van.
Yes, I wanted to bring this back. I brought it probably a month ago when I went downtown myself and took pictures, and I also went to the residential areas. Tonight we was talking about safety on the downtown sidewalks. That's what we need. That's what we also need to focus on also in our residential areas. So, you have the thing, Mr. Garvin. That right there is downtown. All this is downtown we're looking at right here. And it does look good. It looks bad. Go ahead, Mr. Garvin. That picture right there, it looks good. Fair. And like I say, that's where those trees we were talking about that just bringing the sidewalks up, which they need to be, that wasn't our fault. We couldn't help because the people thought that was the thing back during the day, but it wasn't. It's the mess. It can cause problems for the day. Same thing on that picture. That's a downtown picture. Same thing with downtown there. That's great. And that bench, matter of fact, I think that bench is on the other side. At that time, if I'd have seen all that on that bench, I'd have took a picture of it. But I seen it on Facebook the other day. Somebody took a picture of the bench, how it looked downtown, all that bird manure on it. Go ahead, Mr. Garvin. Now, this is our residential area. Now, we have kids riding bikes, and they're riding down this sidewalk here. They trip and fall. The person in this house right there that has this sidewalk in front of them, they're going to be the ones that have to pay for it. This council chamber ought to be full tonight, but that's okay. I'm a councilman in Ward 3, and I'm up here fighting as much as I can for you. Go ahead, Mr. Garvin. Same thing. That's another residential sidewalk. It's the same. It's the same thing. Cracked up. It's no different than downtown. It's the same thing. Go ahead, Mr. Garvin. You see, you got a tripping hazard right there, same as you do in downtown Muskogee. The same tax dollars that we use in downtown Muskogee, we got to use right here on these residential areas. That right there, that's a tree. Same thing. We have same thing as downtown Muskogee. We got problems in residential areas with trees that cause these sidewalks to buffer. But same thing here is another tree on the residential area, on the sidewalk, that people have to pay for. That right there is a tripping hazard. This right here, the concrete's just growing up. I mean, the concrete is gone. It's chipped out. Got grass growing up through it. This article that was done 8/23/15, that might, if we'd have been, instead of being downtown Muskogee and been the residents, we'd probably be getting some sidewalks right now ourselves, because that's a code violation right there. You got grass growing up through that sidewalk there. That's what this paper says. Go ahead, Mr. Garvin. Okay, right here, that right there to me, that hurts my heart more than anything. Because I went and hugged those little kids that live right there in that home. And it ain't a sidewalk in downtown Muskogee that's like this. Really, it's not. But you see the tree? That tree done that. So how would all these councilmen, mayor, who's up here on this panel right now, or out in the audience, or who's looking at me on TV, how would they like their child to fall and bust their head open on that concrete right there, or even their grandmother? Because like I say, you can, an area in residential areas, we're supposed to be like walking paths for us to ride bikes and do things like that to enjoy our community. Go ahead, Mr. Garvin. See, that's the same thing in a residential area. But like I say, it's worse. It's all over the city. I think that's the last. Okay, this is another one. That's another one where the concrete is chipped. But like I say, that's a code violation. It's been the same thing in downtown, just like I said, 8/23/15. The code enforcement that went down there and seen this right here, they gave them people, they had to pay a lot of money out. I'm trying to get y'all focused where you're seeing these things, just comparing the same thing. Only thing is, we got people that can afford to put sidewalks in downtown, but we got residents can't. Okay, Mr. Garvin. Okay, that's the end of my PowerPoint. And like I said, I just hope, Councilman Coleman, I appreciate you the other day for making that motion to look at it in 90 days to get a plan so we can get our residents some relief, because those are constituents that put us in this position. And I'd like to make one more comment up here tonight. I work hard as a councilman every single day. Every single day I work hard as a councilman. I get a lot of calls from other councilmen's wards. But one thing really gets me when I work so hard up here as a councilman, when councilmen up here tell me I'm nothing but a showboat. But the worst thing I've had said to me up here on this council, you're blacking in the way. That right there, I'm telling you, that hurts. But I just want my residents to know that I do work for them. And I do my very best. Anytime my phone rings, I meet the people. I don't just say, Mr. Tucker, we got a problem here and there. He knows. I go to the people. I meet them. Those two statements there, these councilmen, y'all will never tell me that again. I guarantee it. So I just want to put you on notice tonight. I don't never want to hear those words come out of nobody's mouth up here again. I'll turn the floor back over to you, Mr. Mayor. That's my proposal, and we still got it on for the 90 days of looking at the residents, because they definitely need some relief.
Mr. Mayor, could I make an observation?
You certainly can.
As a practical matter, personally, I wouldn't mind taking the 2 streets 4 blocks long in the downtown area, of which it's not necessarily just about sidewalks. It's about revitalizing the heart of our city, and saying we'll do 5 times that amount in the residential areas. But we've got 100 times that amount in dilapidated sidewalks and neighborhoods. As a practical matter, it would be impossible to do all the neighborhoods in town that need sidewalk repair. And to me, it's not necessarily about sidewalk repair in itself, but it's to the bigger issue of the revitalization and encouragement of business and new facilities in the heart of our city, our showplace. But I would be tickled to do 5 times, and I think the council would support that, 5 times the area, the square foot area of sidewalk repair. And I'd be tickled to let you make the decision on which neighborhoods are going to get it, because that's going to be a tough one. But
You're going to need to represent every ward to be fair in the city.
I mean, but let's not get lost in the task that it would be. We could fix every area that we've seen on screen today, but it's not just about sidewalks and what's fair or what's not fair. It's about vision for the heart of our city, and we just don't have the funds to tackle this whole city sidewalks. But I'd be happy to do 5 times the amount of square footage work in the residential areas over what we do downtown.
Yeah, Mr. Kell, it wouldn't be so bad. Like the money, the $30,000, that's what we're gonna spend downtown. Is if we took some of that, just a little bit of that money, since the city goes out and take this concrete in these residential areas, these areas I've showed you, that's really bad, especially that first one that these 2 little kids live at. If they would just take just a little percentage of that money and put towards that sidewalk, those people would be so happy. Another thing, I'm glad I let it slip my mind, but today my kids called me and said, "Daddy, come pick me up from school." And I said, "Okay." So I was going down Shawnee Street and I turned left on York. And I guess God was just in the picture. All the way from Peak Boulevard to all the way down, about where your business is, Mr. Kell, on down that way, where the railroad track is, it's no sidewalk. I'm pretty sure right there where Sherman Williams is, in that area, right there, it's no sidewalk. What hurt me so bad, and I had to go over just like this with my car, it was a lady walking down the street on the right-hand side, had a baby in the stroller, and another child behind her. That little child could have darted out right in front of their cars. No sidewalk. So if y'all get a chance in Ward 1, go by and look at that situation, and you'll feel the same as I do about this piece of sidewalk sticking up where a child can bust their head. But I was just in the right place at the right time. I'd have had time, I'd have stopped and took a picture, and I'd have brought it and showed it to you tonight. That hurt me, to see that lady have to be out in the street when you got all the rest of York Street all the way down that's got sidewalks and nice, pretty sidewalks. Well, I'm through ranting and raving, Mayor, so I'm going to turn the floor back over to you. And thank you, Mr. Kell.
This is the one.
No, we haven't done anything on 15.
Sure.
Mr. Mayor,
So no action is needed on 15 because of I'm assuming the 90-day review of sidewalks that came up at a previous meeting. Is that correct? No action
Yes.
needed on this item.
but I wanted to ask Mr. Garvin, because he and I had a conversation, I think, of a few weeks ago, days ago, about the number of rental properties, the percentage of rental properties that we have in the city. Didn't you say that number is like 42% or 48%?
It's just, as far as rental property, it's just, in the regional town side, it's like 38.6%. But you add the vacant structures, and the majority of the housing is either rental or vacant in the
Right.
regional town side.
And the reason why I raise that issue is because we have to keep in mind that once we do start to tackle the issue that we have with residential sidewalks, we are going to probably, with that number of rental properties, we're going to probably have to think about doing above and beyond what would normally be done when you compare it to what an owner would do to property, because a lot of those properties that may have derelict sidewalks are likely to be in this number of rental properties. And those people, in many instances, because of our poverty rate, are just glad to live somewhere. And so we start looking at the neighborhoods. We have to really, as counselors, in the back of our mind, hold to that fact that if you take any part of the city map and zap out 38%, that's a big hole on that map. And when we start to look at residential neighborhoods, we need to keep that in mind, that we may have to do above and beyond the normal, because many of those people are not going to be able to do it on their own, yet they still deserve to have safe sidewalks as well.
I'd like to make one comment, if you don't
Okay.
mind. We still have a hard time maintaining our streets. So we're going to talk about changing some of our resources to sidewalks when our streets in all of our wards still are needing serious repair. So as we go forward, I want to caution us not to be so focused on sidewalks, because I grew up with no sidewalks, and none of my houses I've ever had have had sidewalks. My daughter doesn't have sidewalks. My mother-in-law doesn't have sidewalks. But we all drive our city streets. We need to make sure that we don't cut too much funding out of our streets, because we're still not in great shape on our streets. And I just want to make that comment that we have limited funds, and I really hate to take our resources and manpower away from some of our streets, because I understand trip hazards, but also understand car accidents with several thousand-pound vehicles hitting each other and really causing some issues. So I just want
Numbers that I remember on streets where we were spending less than $1 million on streets, approximately, besides the mill and overlay, and they'd recommended we spend $3.5 million
Yes,
just
sir.
to maintain the level we're at now, not to improve, but just to
Right.
maintain. So I think, Mr. Gully, you have an extremely valid point.
If Mr.
Are
Gully
we ready
remem-
to go to the next item?
You hadn't closed anything, Mayor. You
I beg your pardon?
hadn't closed anything. I had one more thing I wanted to say.
Yeah, but you told us 3 times this is the last thing you're going to say. What would you like to say, Mr. Van?
I was going to refer to Mr. Gully. One thing you forgot, Mr. Gully, we got a gentleman, a lobbyist out of, matter of fact, he's the mayor of Tulsa now, and we was going to hire him at one time to be our lobbyist to get us some street repairs and stuff. And I believe TG Bynum,
GT.
GT Bynum could do it, but we turned him down. And I'm all for fixing our streets too, because I just called in order today on Missouri, and there's potholes all over town.
Probably a good thing we didn't ask for GT Bynum, since he's now the mayor of Tulsa. He would
Yeah,
have
well,
dumped
you
us.
Probably going to be busy.
But I'm just curious, is there any way that we can come out, City Attorney, is there any way that we can come up with some kind of funding just to get this one little I mean, that's the worst sidewalk I've seen. You see it sticking up like that? Is there any way we can come up with funds? I know we can kind of pick it out the air sometime.
Let's either put something in form of a motion, or let's move
Okay,
to
I'll
item
put it in
number
form of a
16.
motion.
Okay. What is your motion, sir?
My motion is any way we can come up with funds to that PowerPoint I just showed you on B Street. It's on South B. That house right there with little kids living, and the sidewalk is puckled up like that. Now, Public Works will go out.
Is
and
this
take
still
this-
part of the motion?
That's part of the motion.
Okay.
Well, I'm just explaining it. Public Works can go out, take that concrete out, and we can maybe make a motion that we could find the money somewhere, somehow, that we can fix this one sidewalk. To let the people in Muskogee, we are trying in the residential area too, because this is the baddest. I drove around town. I've drove in every one of y'all's wards, and that's the worst I've seen. Can I make a motion to get one thing fixed?
You've already made the motion.
So the motion is to direct staff.
Direct
to do
staff
that?
to see if we can find the money to fund this South B Street project right there where those kids won't crack their skull open.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor.
Mr. Tucker, I want to ask a question. Does that need to be a motion, or can we just consider it as direction to staff to see if there's funding available to repair that sidewalk?
Are we talking about
Or-
repairing or removing? We've already got a
Removing,
problem.
we can remove it now.
Move it.
We can remove it now,
Right.
but not replace it.
But I understood Councilor Van's motion was to replace it.
We're gonna remove it, but also to replace it. It's not that much of it.
Right.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor.
Councilor Coleman, I'd like a motion in that regard, simply because when we talked about the process that we have, the process is not for the city to replace a sidewalk. So I don't want to do that under my authority without the council's express approval.
And
That makes sense.
Yes, sir, it makes sense. That's why I was only thinking, Councilor Van, that if it was direction for staff to explore funding possibilities,
We can do that.
that would not be voted down. If it's voted down, then it just dies on arrival. So, Council, I'm just saying, I think it would be better if he would just direct staff to see what's available to do something versus a vote.
And I'd like to ask a question. How much linear footage are you talking about? Is it 100 feet, 50 feet?
Oh, no, I'll say from right here, what was 40 minutes, where we are right here, that's it.
So about 20 feet?
Yeah, like 10 at least.
Okay.
It's not that much. You can pull the PowerPoint back up, and I can show you exactly.
Okay, so just the humped up sidewalk part and what have you?
Yeah.
Okay,
I mean-
so we're talking about 20 linear feet of sidewalk. Okay.
But you're also talking about setting the precedence for fixing
No.
20 linear feet of sidewalk here.
Yep.
Okay, we got a motion on the floor. Is there a second to the motion?
And this motion is to direct staff to,
Repair.
Repair
Remove and
replace.
repair.
oh,
Repair and replace.
Yeah, I hate to be redundant. That's the only reason why I was saying I think it would be better just direct staff to see what's available, and that way, Mr. Kale, that would answer your question about how much it would cost to actually do it.
I agree with that.
Okay, we can go that way. I mean,
You want to
So would you like to
Raise your
restate the
motion.
motion?
Well,
go ahead, Councilman Coleman.
I don't think he wants to make a motion. I think what he wants to do is, and you help me now. I think what he wants to do is just direct staff to see what funding is available, what it would cost, and that way we could look at it at some time to see what we need to do.
Sounds good to me. But like I say, that's definitely a safety issue.
Got it.
He'd need to withdraw his motion.
I'll withdraw my motion.
Thank you, sir. Item number 16.
Receive update on the City of Muskogee Housing Rehabilitation and Revitalization Program, Foundation 400 Demolition Program, and the City of Muskogee Housing Incentive Program.
Mr. Garvin.
I was asked to give an update to Mayor and Council on these three programs, which is the Rehabilitation Revitalization Program, which we refer to as our housing program, the Foundation 400 Demolition Program, and the Owner-Occupied Single-Family Dwelling Incentive Program. Start with the housing program. Just very quickly, an overview. On this program, you must own and occupy the house. You must be in the low to very low income bracket and located within a target area, and I'll go over the target area in just a minute. The property must be clean of code violations such as weeds, grass, trash, overgrown shrubs. If it has those items, we can reject the application. We can also reject the application if the cost of repairs exceeds the value of the house. All the applicants are ranked based on an established point system, and the grants are awarded based on available funds. Again, this is owner-occupied, so commercial and rental properties cannot apply. The maximum amount is $20,000 per structure, and this is for exterior repairs only. Exterior repairs is roof, doors, windows, foundation, siding, painting. This map shows the target areas. It's basically just an area a little beyond the original town site. We broke it up into 10 areas. Currently, we have gone through areas 1 through 6, made repairs. We're currently working in area 7 and in area 8. We are no longer taking applications in area 7, but we continue to take applications in area 8. Area 8 is bound by Martin Luther King and Shawnee, and 24th and Main Street. As far as the status, just real quickly, Area 1, we received 64 applications. Of those, 47 met the requirements, and we made repairs. Area 2, 21 was repaired. 3, we repaired 24. Area 4, 34 was repaired. Area 5, 43. Area 6, 21. Area 7, we repaired 23, and we currently have 2 left to repair in Area 7. Area 8, we've repaired 6. We have 21 additional applications that's been approved, and again, we continue to take applications in Area 8. So total, there's been 217 structures repaired. Now, as far as the FY 2015-2016 grant cycle, during that time, we did repair 17 structures. The average cost on those structures was $17,647. The total, again, was 217 structures. The total amount is just a little over $3.6 million. The average cost for all 217 is $16,657. Just an FYI, if you remember, I think it was the last City Council meeting, we awarded bids to repair 6 additional structures underneath the new grant cycle, FY15 or FY16-17. 2 of those are actually the 2 that's left in Area 7. Here's just some before and after pictures, and you may have seen some of these pictures when I did the 6-month report, but this was the last grant cycle. Councilman Goley had asked a couple times what some of the houses look like today. Here's a house that we actually did in Area 1, before and after. And here's a picture that was taken one day last week. Here's another one on North 9th Street, before and after. And this picture was also taken last week. And one more on North 17th Street. That was not in Area 1. That may have been in Area 2 or 3, but still, it's 5, 6, 7 years ago. And here's a picture of it today. Now, it's not saying everyone looked that way. You have had a few issues with code violations on some of them, but the majority of them are still in really, really good condition. As far as accomplishments, what has this program done? Again, 217 structures completed, total cost just over $3.6 million. We've also, over the years that we've been doing this program, we've partnered with World Changers and Mission Serve. Through that partnership, we've also repaired an additional 78 structures through this program. With World Changers, we was in partners with them in 07 and repaired 5. 08, we did 10 structures. 2010, 14. 2011 was 12 structures. In 2013, 16 structures. Mission Serve, the last 2 years we partnered with them. 2014, we did seven structures, and in 2015, we did 14. So again, if you combine those together, we've repaired almost 300 structures underneath this program. Something that I had Tish look up and just put on just an FYI. If you look at the citydata.com website, it shows the median housing values for the city of Muskogee has increased 67% from 2000 to 2013. I feel like this program and some of the other programs that the city has done played a role in this increase. So I think it is helping and improving our city. Next is the Foundation 400 demolition program. Just some quick numbers here. From February 2015 through July 2015, we demolished 100 structures. The next 6 months, we demolished an additional 85. The next 6 months, 88 additional structures. This PowerPoint was actually done about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, and that number for August is around 15 now, rather than 8. Back when I done the PowerPoint, we had 288 structures that was demolished, total cost of just over $1.2 million, average cost a little over $4,000 per structure, and this is funded through a grant from the City of Muskogee Foundation. It's matched with CIP funding that was approved by the voters of Muskogee, or the citizens of Muskogee. Here's just some quick before and after pictures on the demolition. Now, this next one is a video. If it works, I'll show you a house being demolished in about 60 seconds. There's supposed to be some volume or music going along with it, but.
He's crawling on my street.
And they did this in an hour?
Well, they did it in a day, but it takes about 60 seconds on the video for it to be gone. There goes the volume.
What street is that on, Gary? What street?
That's 15th and Innocent.
That's impressive.
And I
Is that
think,
dirt work done right?
yes.
They've been an excellent contractor, haven't they?
He's been a very good contractor to work with, and he does a good job and does them pretty quickly.
had lots of practice.
Yes. As far as accomplishments, underneath this program, well, actually, over the past 2 years, there's been 481 demolition permits issued and structures removed. That was either through the Foundation 400 grant, the CDBG, Community Development Block Grant, that's matched with city funds, or property owners. One big difference since we've got this program going is I think we've had around 86 property owners demolish their own structure. We haven't had 86 demolish their own in the last 15 years combined, typically, from once it's been condemned. So they do know now if once the property's condemned, we're going to demolish it, so we're getting a lot of owner participation. In addition to that, there's been 104 structures that's been repaired and removed from the demolition list, and we currently have 61 that have permits to make repairs. So in the past 2 years, there's been 585 condemned structures either repaired or demolished. Now, if you add the 61 that we got permits, you've got 646 that was on our demolition list that's being removed. And again, that's in really less than a 2-year period. And this just an FYI I stuck in there because you know we've been doing demolition for years, and typically we was using the Community Development Block Grant, Small City Set Aside, and City Match. I asked Tish to pull some numbers and see what was done. She went back from 1997 till 2016. With that grant, we've demolished 969 structures and a $3.3 million plus cost. So you're looking at around 1,500 structures that's been demolished. Now, as far as the incentive program, which is the last one, very quickly, it'll provide cash rebate for construction of new occupied single-family dwellings. We can also waive building permit fees. We can provide a reduction in sewer and trash rate, and in some cases, provide lots at no cost. This is for single-family dwellings. They have to be built on-site. They have to comply with all the codes that the City of Muskogee has adopted, and they need to be 2 or more bedrooms. To receive the incentive, the builder must purchase all building materials from local vendors, and he must utilize local contractors. The cash rebate's paid to the buyer at the closing, and it has to go towards the down payment and closing cost or the principal of the loan. We will place a mortgage on the property. It's a 5-year mortgage. It's reduced 20% a year during that 5 years. There is a maximum amount of $25,000 per home or per incentive, and the dwelling has to be built on an infill lot. The definition of an infill lot is a lot that was previously built or had a structure on it and it's been removed, or in some cases, if there's a undeveloped lot in a neighborhood where the average age of the structure is 40 years old or older, it can still qualify, but they have to go through the planning commission to get approval prior to receiving the funding. This is funded through a grant from the City of Muskogee Foundation, amount of $300,000. Based on that $300,000, we could do 12 houses at the $25,000 cost each. We do have building permits for all 12 structures, which means all the money's been encumbered. 5 of the 12 have been completed and closed. 4 are getting ready for a CO. Matter of fact, 1 structure was issued a CO today, and I think their closing cost was set the first week in September. Here's just, and I just did 4 pictures. These 4 pictures are 3 of the houses that are complete, 1 that's still under construction. As you can see, these are all nice structures. As far as accomplishments, what has this program accomplished? Well, we're going to get 12 new single-family dwellings built on infill lots. And if you'll go back to a statement I made several times, as far as building permits for new construction in the original town site, there's been very few, a handful in the last 10 years. We've got more on this, well, on infill lots on this program than we've done in the last 10, 12 years. So it is making a difference. Also, these are all owner-occupied. No rental properties. So we're helping the home ownership. They've all been built with local contractors. All the material was bought from local vendors. And just so you'll know, I have made a request to the City of Muskogee Foundation for an additional $200,000 for this program. Actually, it's not an additional amount of money. This program was funded through the same budget and program as the demolition. $1 million was set for demolition, $300,000 for this, and we matched the demolition with $1 million. I'm asking them to just amend the budget to take at least $200,000 from the demolition and put towards the incentive program to keep this program moving forward. It's my understanding in the October, I think it's the October foundation meeting, they'll make that decision. That's a quick update on the 3 programs. Be glad to answer any questions.
Just a quick comment. The Housing Incentive Program was an idea that we borrowed from Ponca City as a result of an association at the OML in Tulsa. Just an FYI.
And FYI too on that, I guess we'll be giving a presentation at the next OML on the incentive program, on these 3 programs.
So if you did, I think you said 86 structures that people have torn down on their own.
I believe that's correct, yes.
If you do that times $4,200, that's about $325,000 of private investment that have gone on as a result of city investment.
And as we all know, the problem we faced before, we were condemning more than we had the funds to demolish. So, you know, we had over 400 structures, quite a bit over 400, on a backlog. Well, people were getting the idea, we condemn them, and they sit there for 4, 5, 6 years. Now they're starting to understand it's coming down, so they're not realizing they're going to have to do something, either repair it or demolish it, or we're going to do it. So it's
from a
making
demolition standpoint, I'd have to say a thank you to Randy Howard. Randy was sitting right over there one day and said, we could tear all 500 of these down if we had a grant to do it, couldn't we? And that kind of started the wheels in motion. And thank you, Randy Howard, for that idea.
I've got a question. I might have confused myself. In a nutshell, how does this program work? 25,000
on the incentive program.
Yes, sir.
It's which the money is based on a percentage of the cost on how much you can get, but the maximum amount you could get is 25,000.
What's the percentage?
I think for 100,000 it's 20%. If it's between 100 and 150,000, it drops down to like 17%, and then the percentage keeps dropping down as the price of the house gets larger.
So if you get the maximum 25, is that a $150,000 home or what?
It depends. On a $100,000 home, you could get 25. On a $200,000 home,
okay,
on the percentage, it's going to come out to pretty close to up to 25,000. If you build a $75,000 home, you wouldn't get the 25. It'd be less than that.
Okay. So anyway, you build this home, you get 25,000, and then you pay it back, or
okay. The one of the main reasons why we did this is when we talked to the developers and contractors, they were unwilling to build on fee and fill lots. They gave 3 reasons. 1, the number of dilapidated structures, which we're addressing. Number 2, the condition of the existing homes not being maintained, which the housing program is addressing. Number 3, property values, the cost of construction versus the sale price. They can't get it in this area. That's why we did one reason why we did the incentive. So what we're stating, if it costs a builder $125,000 to build the house, we're going to give $25,000 at closing to go towards the construction of that house. The builder can still build it and get his money because it's going to cost him $125, but he just has to find a buyer who's willing to pay $100 because we're going to put the $25 in. So the builder can still get his share of what it costs to build it, but again, he can find someone who's willing to buy that house in that area because of the property values.
And Patrick, you get that by purchasing local materials.
Yes. Benefit from the city is you're using local contractors and buying all your material local.
Yeah.
Gary, on the 400 that we decided to demolish, where are we at on that list? I mean, total. How many have we demolished to date?
To date, we've demolished 488, I think it was. That's
How many?
been demolished. Now, at foundation, we did 288, but totals was 400.
How many do we still need to tear down?
Actually, we're pretty much caught up, which I've got them where they're going out, condemn them. As far as the backlog, we've taken care of the backlog. But there's still structures out there that need to be demolished.
Aren't we at
But now
about
we're at
40
Palmer.
to 60 structures per year that come on that list?
Previously, we were demolishing 40 to 50 annually. We were condemning 60 to 80 annually, and that's why the backlog got started.
Well, Dan, we need to keep up. We need to have we need to be prepared to take care of 60 structures a year. Or we'll be back in the same backlog.
That's what I was asking.
So the homeowner buys the home for 100. I guess I got confused about
The builder will
the
get
city having
$125,000 for
the
the
city
home.
having a mortgage on it for 5.
Yeah, and what the mortgage is to keep it from turning into rental property or being sold,
Okay,
to getting that money, making a quick equity in the house and selling it.
gotcha. Okay,
we
It's a good
wanted
program.
something just to make sure they stayed there for at
Yeah.
least 5 years.
Yeah, it's a great program.
Thank you.
Remember, we recognize.
Yes, sir.
I see Mr. Gorman on one of these slides. One of the builders that goes around and does the home repair on the $20,000.
Mhm.
You know, I see he took advantage of that program.
He did.
He
He
sure
did.
did.
And matter of fact, I think one of those
Nice,
houses
too.
were his.
It is a nice house. I've been by it. It's on right.
The
Coming right there
house
on
in the bottom
Yep.
left-hand corner.
He's got it decorated.
Is his house.
His house.
Nice house, very nice house.
Yep. He took thorough advantage of it. I mean, and he was in that urban renewal area where his house was. So he built this on the infield lot. So I commend him. It looks good.
Mr. Garvin, on the rehab program and the demolition program, what's the amount that we ask annually for that to be funded,
On
or
the,
respectively, rather?
on the rehab program, typically it's 300,000.
Okay.
Now, a few years I've asked for 600,000, but typically what we get from the foundation is 300,000.
Okay.
On the demolition, it was a 3-year grant.
Okay.
The total amount was $1 million, and it's matched with CIP funds
Okay.
approved by the citizens for $1 million. On the incentive program, it's a $300,000 grant. There was no match. That was funded through the foundation.
Because I'm wondering, you know, I know you asked for what you need in terms of the 600,000. I'm just wondering, along with something what the mayor had, and Councilor Hall had said earlier about being able to keep up. You know, do we need a little more so that we don't create another backlog, but at the same time do what we can to make the city continue its improvements?
Which we're making a lot more progress than what we actually thought we would get accomplished as far as a number of structures. And we're at the point now where we're going out and, like I say, having to condemn them before we can get them demolished. At this point, I think if we continue with what the city budgets and using the community development block grant, I think we can keep on top of it.
Okay.
At this point.
Thank you.
The other thing that's happened is it's driven the price down per unit, has it not?
Yes, and when we went out for bid, we had expected the cost to be around $3.50 a square foot, and it come in at $2.15 a square foot. That's one reason why we was able to only spend $1.2 million demolishing the 288. Otherwise, it would have been quite a bit more than that. So it was a very good deal on the price, and he does a great job.
Thank you, sir, for your update. Item number 17.
Consider approval of the renewal of additional 1-year term extensions for a maximum of 5-year extensions as approved by the Davisfield Airport Board on June the 15th, 2016 for the commercial use hangar lease agreement for Alpha Aviation Mission Outreach Center Incorporated, beginning August 10, 2016, or take any other necessary action.
Mr. Stewart.
Yeah, this is a renewal with Alpha Aviation. Alpha has been at the airport for 5+ years. They've actually been in this hangar. This is hangar T201. This is a 1-year lease with renewals up to 5 years. The airport board actually structured the rates. This will bring in $9,274 annually. It does have a structured 2% lease increase in it, and the airport board did structure this. We recommend approval, and as stated, this was approved by the airport board. So we recommend approval.
Move for approval.
Second.
A motion and a second. Is there a comment or discussion? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor James Scully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Kell.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes, motion carries. Item number 18.
Consider approval of agreement as approved by the Airport Board for professional services between Garver and City of Muskogee Davisfield Airport for runway 13-31 and apron rehabilitation project number 160-31011, or take other necessary action.
Mr. Stewart again.
Yeah, Mr. Saffel, our interim airport manager, is actually going to present this item, but I'm going to give you just a brief background. We did have the FAA and the Oklahoma Aeronautics Commission both out at the airport recently, looking at things that needed to be improved upon and trying to impress upon them the effort that we're putting forth in improving our airport. And I think we were very successful. They did come back to us and tell us that there was some money available for some projects out there over and above what we had in our current 5-year plan. So they came back with us with a proposal to do the projects that Drew is going to outline for you. And we have an urgency to this because this is money that's more or less discretionary from the OAC that if we don't act upon, we won't get either because it's a year-end sale type thing. So we either get on it, get it done, or we don't get the money. So we did put this before the airport board, and Drew's going to run through the project with you.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. So this is for the runway 1331, the aircraft parking apron and taxiway Bravo rehabilitation project for Davis Field Airport. All three of these services are in vital need of repair. This here is a airfield diagram showing in yellow the areas that will be or could potentially be replaced during this project or rehabilitated. The aircraft parking apron is in the top right-hand corner, taxiway Bravo is in the center, and runway 1331 is our primary runway that gets the vast majority of traffic. With the runway 1331 project, this agreement for professional services will do the designing, engineering, and planning for the site preparation, joint and crack repair of under 1 inch on the runway. It does not have larger than 1 inch cracks. It's below 1 inch at this time. Paint and rubber removal, the emulsified asphalt seal coat to protect the surface and prevent further decay, and of course runway taxiway repainting and restriping. The total engineer's estimate currently for the runway 1331 project is $913,500. This surface is 7,200 feet long by 150 feet wide, so it's approximately 1.5 miles in length. As you can see here, runway 1331 is starting to show age. It was last rehabilitated in the late 90s, early 2000s. The painting and markings on the runway are very deteriorated. The surface itself is starting to produce FOD. Moisture is starting to get into the concrete, which is causing it to rapidly deteriorate. The current OAC threshold for this runway is a 67 out of 100. 65 is the threshold for replacement because at that point below it starts rapidly deteriorating. So this is the point that we can move forward and do a repair that is relatively low cost to doing a full depth, full length repair, which we would have to do in the future if we did not do a rehabilitation project such as this.
Hey, Drew, would you explain FOD to them?
Yes, absolutely. FOD is foreign object debris. When the surface starts to crack and deteriorate, like the sidewalks we were looking at earlier, it starts to flake up. That can cause damage to aircraft props, aircraft fuselages, especially turbine aircraft like jets that we do see on a weekly basis at Davis Field. And also, with the crack seal, that'll reduce the vegetation growth. We fight daily weeds and grass coming through the runway at its current state because the crack sealing is coming up. The parking apron, that's a large ramp that services all of our commercial hangar space and all the aircraft coming into the airport utilize. When people get off the jets and the aircraft at Davis Field, the first thing they see is that ramp. And currently it has large 3-4 inch cracks, even wider in some areas. It's got a large amount of ponding where it's collecting water, and it is producing a lot of FOD. We're getting complaints on a almost daily basis from aircraft tenants who have had some slight damage to their aircraft as a result of FOD. With this one, we're going to have to do joint and crack repair under 1 inch, joint and crack repair over 1 inch, painting, and then a emulsified asphalt slurry seal to coat it and smooth it out. The total engineer's additive estimate for this is $352,000, and this is an additive. This may be added on to the runway 1331 project dependent upon funding. As you can see here, this picture depicts the current condition of the asphalt. It's hard to see. All the light colored areas are areas where the pavement has chipped up. So everywhere you see that it's not dark black is where it has produced FOD that is a hazard to aircraft. Taxiway Bravo is the primary taxiway utilized by aircraft for the approach end of runway 13, our primary runway. It's currently in very poor condition. It's got wide cracks in it, and it is coming apart. It needs a under 1 inch crack repair, an over 1 inch crack repair. It's about 6 inches in some areas. You could just about catch an aircraft nose wheel in some of it. It needs painting and then a emulsified asphalt slurry seal to seal it like we would do in the asphalt apron. And the total engineer's additive estimate for this surface is $59,000 if added to the runway 1331 project, dependent upon costs and available funding. And as you can see here, this is the current condition of taxiway Bravo. So the engineering fee summary for this Garver agreement for professional services. The final design cost is $34,300, and that is the full engineering and design to FAA and OAC specifications for this project. They also do bidding services for the contractor to do the work. It's $6,500. Funding for this will come 95% from the Oklahoma Aeronautics Commission and the Federal Aviation Administration entitlement funds. 5% will come from the airport sponsor, come out of airport funds, Davis Field. And our share of this is $2,040. With this project, we are designing the runway, the apron, and taxiway Bravo. If we end up only moving forward with the runway, then we will put the designs on the shelf for potential later use for the apron and taxiway Bravo. It's more cost effective to put all the design together and package it rather than bringing it out separately for bidding. And that's all I have. I recommend approval. Any questions?
And this was approved at our last airport board meeting. So basically what he's saying is 1331 is a definite go if we can get this passed and approved and designed. The apron and taxiway Bravo we're going to do as bid alternates, and if that price comes in the range of the money that we have available, we will do it all. If it does not, we're going to visit with Mr. Tucker and Mr. Miller and try to figure out how we can fund it all. But it's our intent to try to move forward with this to get it all done. So for the minimal amount of money we're having to spend on the design, we're putting a project out there that will be huge improvements to the airport.
Mike or Drew, either one. Our 5% would come out of existing budget?
Yes, okay. And it's there.
Correct. We have it for engineering fees.
And they're willing to pay 95% of the main runway.
Well, normally the way it works is it's a 95% and 5% sponsor share. We do not know what the runway cost is going to come in at. The estimate from Garver is $913,000. If it comes back approximately at that range, then we will pay approximately 5% of it. If it comes back over that, we will have to seek out additional funding, which we do not yet have a source, but we're exploring our options.
And to help answer that, the OAC and the FAA, the OAC mainly, Dale Williams, our representative, he brought these projects forth to us. He's encouraged us to move forward with them, so we know they're behind us.
Sure. But their participation is only on the runway portion, the main runway, or all of it?
We won't know that until we actually see the bid prices.
Okay.
That's why we'll bid the other two as add alternates. So we may be able to do, we're fairly certain we're going to do 1331, and it's possible we'll do both of the others. We may just do one of the others depending on what that bid price comes in. But once we know what that ticket is, we'll get with Mr. Tucker and Mr. Miller and see if we can't figure out how to fund the whole thing, and that will definitely be something we'll be bringing before you.
Regardless, we're sitting on the verge of a problem out there. If we don't make repairs that keep this stuff from deteriorating further, we'll be in big trouble.
We'll be looking at a sidewalk issue.
But it ain't a sidewalk issue.
No, you're absolutely right. The ramp is one of the most vital parts of that airport, and it is in definite need of repair. And that's why we took time to walk them from one end of that to the other when they were here. And when I say them, I mean our OAC and FAA representatives. It is definitely in need of repair, and we've got an opportunity here, and we're taking advantage of it.
Good.
We hope you'll get on board with us. We know
Thanks
you
for
will.
being on top of it.
Yes.
How long will this process take if we get everything?
Well, it's dependent upon how long the bidding and everything takes, but the OAC would like to start the project before the first snow falls this winter. That was the wording that came from our regional representative. He's projecting the project to start sometime in December based on my conversation with him last week.
I was just curious because
And it'll be approximately a 30-day project. The runway would be about 30 days, and then it would be approximately that for the ramp and taxiway Bravo. So, and at that point, we're going to have our crosswind runway open, so we will be able to resume normal operations at the airfield despite the closures of the current of these surfaces proposed.
I was just curious because this is President Obama's last year, and if that runway is good enough, we could probably get President Obama to bring Air Force One down here to check it out.
It's long enough for him.
We're going to have to sell it from Hillary or Mr. Trump.
There you go.
Thank you.
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor James Scully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes, motion carries. Thank you, Drew. Item 19.
Consider approval of the appointment of Stella Derrick to the Planning and Zoning Commission, replacing Troy Stoudemire, to serve a 3-year term beginning September 1, 2016, and ending on August 31, 2019, or take other necessary action.
Do we need to make an amendment to the way it is on the agenda? Since it's like 17.
Clearly a typo.
It was
Yes.
corrected as read.
Okay, thank you.
Pretty long
Move for
appointment.
approval.
We don't make anybody else do an 800-year term.
Coleman.
Never can tell.
Second.
Got a
Is
motion
the-
and a second.
Go ahead.
No, I'm good.
Motion and a second. Any comments?
Good appointment, Mr. Councilman Coleman. I know
Thank you.
Mr.
Roll call.
Derek will. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor James Scully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes, motion carries. Item 20.
Consider approval of the appointment of Reverend Roger L.B. Cutler to the Muskogee Medical Center Authority, replacing Gary Parker, to serve a 7-year term beginning September 1,
long
2016, and ending on August 31, 2023, or take other necessary action.
Councilman Johnson.
Most of you know Reverend Cutler. He serves in a number of different positions in our community, and I think he'll serve very well on the Medical Center Authority. That is my recommendation.
Move for approval.
Second.
And I like Reverend Cutler.
Motion and a second. Any comments?
Yeah, thank you, Councilman Johnson. That's a very good appointment. So I definitely approve Reverend Roger Cutler.
Roll call.
Deputy Mayor James Scully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes. Item number 21.
Consider approval of the appointment of Peter Roberts to the City Facilities Board, replacing Marcella Loreto, to serve a 5-year term beginning September 1, 2016, and ending August 31, 2021, or take other necessary action.
Councilman Reed, you've been quiet tonight.
All right.
This is your time.
I'm recommending Mr. Roberts. He has worked in the maintenance area at Connors. I think he would be a great person to serve on this facilities board, so that is my recommendation.
Move for approval.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any comments?
Yes, good
Roll-
appointment, Councilman Reed. I think you're doing a great job. Thank you.
Roll call.
Deputy Mayor James Scully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes, motion carries. Item 22.
Consider approval of the appointment of Craig McNeil to the Wellness Initiative Coalition to serve a 4-year term beginning August 1, 2016, and ending July 31, 2020, or take other necessary action.
Councilman Reed, your turn again.
Yes, once again, this is my recommendation. He was highly recommended to us by Dr. Baker, so I think Mr. McNeil will be a great asset to the Wellness Initiative team, and that's my recommendation.
Move for approval.
Got a motion
Second.
and a second. Any comment or discussion?
Thank you,
Roll.
Councilman Reed. You've done a great job on these recommendations, these appointments. I commend you, and thank you again.
I'm glad to have your approval.
Roll call.
Deputy Mayor
Diversity.
James Scully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes, motion carries. Recognizing citizens wishing to speak. Ivory Van, you're signed up to speak about the sidewalks. I'm assuming we've already heard that, have we not?
We have, but I got one more thing I can talk about, Mayor.
Okay. Name and address, please.
Ivory Van, 911 Holden, Muskogee, Oklahoma. I was going to talk about the sidewalks, but since it's been discussed and I didn't get shut down, so anytime I get shut down up there, I'm coming down here. So what I want to talk about tonight is Robinson Park. Robinson Park's bathroom is looking good. We went on a walkthrough last Wednesday and done a punch list, and the punch list with the guys down there today, they were down there doing the touch-ups, and I'm very, very glad that they done a great job. I'll tell you. You know, I'm picky because I went over that punch list with them thoroughly. You know, I can say one thing. I can say God has really blessed me. I remember the first time we started on Robinson Park, I was just a president of the Robinson Park Community Association. I used to have to walk in back of them just to listen to see kind of what they said about the projects down there. But God blessed me to be a councilman. Now I can walk up front and be seen and give my opinion without no static like I did back in those days. But like I say, I'm so glad that Robinson Park is going to finally get a bathroom, and it's supposed to open sometime this week. And like I said, Williams Construction, I commend them, commend all the subcontractors that work down there. They've done a very great, outstanding job. And like I say, I'm just so proud of that bathroom. So Councilman Hall and Councilman Johnson, the next time when we pay this contract off, I'm going to bring my porta potty and I'm going to bring my toilet one more time, set up there. And I'm going to personally hand you all that porta potty, personally. So it's all over now. We don't have to use no porta potties down there on that side of the park. God has blessed us to get us a bathroom. A lot of people didn't think it was going to happen, but it did, and I'm proud of it. So I'd like to say that again. I just thought I'd give you all a little quick update on our park project at Robinson Park on the bathroom. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anybody want to give an update on the Honor Heights Park? Okay.
I can't want to.
23, consider an executive session to discuss and take possible action on the following. Tammy, on A.
Pursuant to Section 307B1, Title 25, Oklahoma statutes, consider convening an executive session to discuss the appointment of Mike Miller to the position of city manager, and if necessary, take appropriate action in open session.
Entertain a motion regarding executive session.
So moved.
Second.
And a second. Roll call.
Deputy Mayor James Scully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall. Mayor Coburn.
Yes. Motion passes, and we will consider ourselves in executive session. If you would.
Mayor Bob Coburn.
Here.
Deputy Mayor James Scully.
Here.
Dan Hall.
Here.
Marlon Coleman.
Here.
Janie Boydston. Here. Wayne Johnson.
Here.
Patrick Kale.
Here.
Ivory Van.
Here.
Derek Reed.
Here.
We are accounted for. Back from executive session. Item 23A. Mr. Beachy, you want to
Thank
take
you,
this
Mr.
item
Mayor.
for us?
Pursuant to Section 307B1, Title 25 Oklahoma statutes, council did convene an executive session to discuss the appointment of Mike Miller to the position of city manager. And after being fully briefed and discussing the matter, I believe a motion is appropriate approving an agreement with an effective date of October 44th, hiring Mike Miller as city manager for the sum of $122,930, and all related matters within the contract be approved and authorize the manager to execute the same.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any comment or discussion?
I'll just say, reiterate to Mr. Miller, certainly we look forward to trying to work with you to make certain that we do everything we can to support you. Although some people may not have agreed with the process, you are poised to become the city manager regardless. And so we will do what we can to make certain that you do what you need to do and have what you can to make sure the city continues to move forward.
You're getting ready to become the city manager of the best city in Oklahoma.
There you go.
Congratulations. Roll call.
Deputy Mayor James Scully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes. And that concludes our agenda, and we thank you for being a part of our meeting tonight.